Today, I would like to talk about why Jesus gets such a bad rap and has such a bad name in so much of society and the media and conversation and many places in the world. Well, his name is a curse word to most people. He's constantly mocked in stories and movies and songs and writings and the whole thing. There's a lot of reasons for this, and I don't claim to understand them all by any stretch of the imagination. However, there's one that I would like to address, and that is the fact that the church hasn't done the best job of showing us and teaching us who Jesus really is. There is a lot of emphasis in Christianity on the Bible, which I get, it's important. But there is actually more emphasis on the Bible than there is on Jesus. And quite frankly, Jesus is the point of the Bible. That's one problem. There's also a lot of focus on methods and practices, disciplines, etc., which are good, but as we all know, the good is the eternal enemy of the best, and, well, what is the best? Jesus is the best. Jesus has been completely misrepresented for many reasons, because there is more belief in him and less knowing of him. The two are worlds apart. When you know Jesus, it completely revolutionizes what you think, what you believe about so many things. When you have a belief in Jesus that lines up with doctrine and what you've been told by others, it creates a false sense of security. And you can belong to a group and a culture then that shares common beliefs and doctrines, which is comforting, I understand. But still, there's a vast difference between that and knowing Jesus, who is the infinite He is infinite and he is deity, right? He's not God the Father. It's very clear in the Bible that he is not God the Father. However, he did say, I and the Father are one. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He is the exact representation of his nature, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot of those kind of verses in there. So, Jesus himself is infinite in love, in power, in wisdom, in peace, in ability, in solutions, in truth, in strength, in anything and everything that anybody needs, anywhere. throughout all time and eternity. But there's just not a lot of focus on him, and there's a lot of focus on methods, disciplines, practices, which are good and they have value. But if this is, well, let's be realistic, okay? If they have this much value, the value of knowing Christ himself, knowing Jesus, is infinite. From here, it encapsulates all this, and it goes out to infinity. So really, which one do you want? I mean, all these are good. Having a growth plan, reading the Bible diligently, praying regularly, taking responsibility for yourself, using your gifts and your talents, all these things, fasting, whatever, all these things that are very good to do, but in contrast with knowing Jesus, the real Jesus. I'm not talking about just a belief in him. I'm not talking about agreeing with proper doctrine about him. I'm not talking about just saying a prayer and then believing you're saved, or even knowing that you're saved, because it can be both ways. I'm talking about like knowing Jesus. Like, Jesus is so infinite that he is able to be intimately acquainted with every person on the planet at the same time, and to be intimately aware of each person's needs and what they need right at that moment in time and in their future and forever, eternally. That's how big Jesus is. And he has everything in infinite degrees that we need. So the fact that Jesus is mocked and ridiculed and disrespected in so much of society and culture is often due to the fact that those who believe in him and adhere to him and Christian doctrine are doing just that, but not actually living with him, in him, from him. It's a and it can be very, very shallow. It can just mostly all take place on a mental level. When Jesus is primarily a spiritual being, and you know him primarily spiritually, and that spiritual knowledge, not just knowledge about him, but knowledge, knowing him, affects and transforms the mental, the emotional, and the physical to a degree. It greatly affects the mental and the emotional and the soul, and it can definitely affect the physical as well. It does affect the physical. But when human beings live only in the physical and the mental and the emotional, even Christians, even adhering to Christianity, and they don't tap into the spirit realm, which is the realm that Jesus runs. He is the creator of everything, including that. Yes, God the Father, but the Bible also says that Jesus was the creator. So when you don't tap into that spiritual reality and live with Jesus, then all you have is a mental, emotional, physical experience that you're calling, not you specifically, but you generally, are calling a belief in the truth about everything and the truth about reality, when it's just on a mental and a emotional level, and it doesn't really affect you very much or anybody around you. And when other human beings look at that, it looks like what it is, and it's not very appealing. Whereas when you actually get to know Jesus for real, it's the most appealing thing in the world, boy. Thoughts for today.